on Acast and wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Rebalance with Kamal Santamaria.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Rebalance. Hope you've had a good week. And it has been a bit of a Trumpy week, hasn't it? What with Liberation Day. You can't see the air quotes I'm making around that phrase, but I promise you they are there. All the tariffs nonsense and the stock markets crashing everywhere. It is reflective, I think, of 2025 so far, which has been even more Trumpy than maybe most of us thought it would be. So 3 months into the year, I thought we would have a little reminder podcast about everything else that has happened so far in 2025 and indeed is still going on right now. I found that it is very easy to lose perspective in this current iteration of Earth. And it is so easy to forget all the other big stories that are happening in so many different parts of the world, and it is important that we don't forget them. So here we go, 2025 so far, in review, with no added Trump.
Rebalance with Kamal Santamaria.
The first political casualty of 2025 came early, just 6 days into the year.
So last night over dinner, I told my kids about the decision that I'm sharing with you today. I intend to resign as party leader, as prime minister, after the party selects its next leader through a robust, nationwide, competitive process.
That was Justin Trudeau, of course, the Prime Minister of Canada for a decade. But as so often happens with popular leaders, they become unpopular when they've been around for too long. Multiple Canadian ministers had resigned towards the end of 2024, including his own deputy. So with the writing on the wall, Trudeau did the only thing he could do and got out. It's worth noting that Trudeau was the fifth leader of a G7 country to be voted out since the group last met in July of 2024. A sure sign of the change in political winds all over the world. January was actually pretty busy. South Korea's president, Yoon Suk-yeol, was finally arrested after being impeached in 2024. He was charged with an abuse of power and the orchestration of a martial law crisis. By April, he too was gone from office, making him the shortest-serving president in South Korea's democratic history. In the US, there was that mid-air collision between an Army Black Hawk helicopter and a PSA Airlines passenger plane. 67 people were killed when the aircraft collided and fell into the Potomac River near Washington, D.C. But arguably the biggest story in America was over on the West Coast.
Thousands of people are under evacuation orders in Southern California as strong winds fuel new wildfires in the Los Angeles area. It adds to the ongoing destruction in the area as at least 28 people have died in the ongoing wildfires in the state. The Palisades fire is roughly 72% contained. The Eden fire is 95% contained. Both of those have been burning for more than 2 weeks.
Amazing to think this was only in January. In the end, 200,000 plus people were evacuated. Over 230 square kilometers of land was burned, with 18,000 structures either destroyed or damaged. These were the most destructive wildfires Southern California had ever seen, and had the added effect of many of Los Angeles' wealthy areas being affected. Of course, with the way the news works these days, the destruction of homes owned by rich and famous people got a lot of coverage, when their loss was arguably no more important or significant than that of anyone else. But that's Hollywood, I guess. And internationally, the big news was Gaza. In the final days of his term as US President, Joe Biden said this:
I can announce a ceasefire and a hostage deal has been reached between Israel and Hamas. More than 15 months of terror for the hostages, their families, the Israeli people. More than 15 months of suffering by the innocent people of Gaza.
I quickly lost count the number of times this was called a fragile ceasefire, but it was never going to be anything else. Yes, it stopped the war, the bombing, the killing, it got hostages returned. But history teaches us that the quiet times tend to not last too long.
Breaking news at 11, Israel launches new airstrikes on Gaza.
At least 400 people have been reportedly killed from surprise Israeli airstrikes.
Particularly young children being rushed into hospital, small lifeless bodies being held by parents as they try to get treatment for their children. Many of them, it's simply too late.
That was only 2 months later. Israel then refused to withdraw from sites in the Gaza Strip, even though it had agreed to. It also prevented food and medicine from entering Gaza and shut off electricity to its main water desalination plant. In the Middle East, the more things change, the more they inevitably stay the same. February was comparatively quieter. The major news was mostly political. Greece elected a new president, Romania's president resigned, and in Germany, this happened.
The Conservatives are celebrating in Germany tonight after exit polls put them on course for victory. Friedrich Merz is the man expected to be the next Chancellor. The far-right party, AfD, looks set to make historic gains, finishing in second place with around 20% of the vote. But the Conservatives' leader has again criticised Elon Musk for intervening in Germany's elections after he backed the far-right party.
Even with everything going on in the United States and with his Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, closing down entire departments, Elon Musk found the time to insert himself into German politics. He spoke via video link at a rally for the Alternative für Deutschland party, the AfD, telling them they were the best hope for Germany and that there had been, quote, frankly, too much of a focus on past guilt, and we need to move beyond that, end quote. A reminder that the AfD is far-right, Eurosceptic, pro-Russia and anti-immigration, particularly when it comes to Muslims. The Syrian war ended in December 2024, but in March the battle was still going on. It was a series of mass killings of Syrian Alawites by fighters aligned with the Syrian Transitional Government and remnants of the former regime of Bashar al-Assad. Various human rights groups put the number of deaths at over 1,000. Syria is an easily forgotten story. But remember, that civil war went on for nearly 14 years. Upwards of 650,000 people were killed. 6.7 million were displaced internally, a further 6.6 million outside the country. I posted a editorial on the balance in December last year, saying how important it was that lessons from the past were learnt, when long-time leaders were toppled, and that Syria needed to not become the next Iraq, or Libya, or Yemen. Right now, it's plain to see how difficult that task is. And there were two more big stories in March, both impacting people, but in such different ways. I guess I'm saying that, yes, news is news, but the importance kind of depends on where you are and your circumstances.
Good evening. Aftershocks have continued to rock Myanmar as search and rescue teams desperately try to locate survivors after a massive earthquake hit the war-torn country on Friday. The latest rescues, a pregnant woman and a young child who were both pulled from the rubble in Mandalay.
Actually, the earthquake was felt right across Asia. Buildings came down in Thailand, Vietnam and China were affected too. But Myanmar, a relatively poor country, riven by conflict and military rule for decades, well, fate would of course mean that it took the worst hit. As of recording this podcast, 4,400 people were killed by the earthquake, another 6,000 injured.
Heathrow, Europe's busiest airport and one of the biggest travel hubs in the world, has been completely shut down today. Counter-terrorism police are among several agencies investigating a fire at a nearby substation. Thousands of passengers have been stranded across the globe as planes were diverted and grounded.
One relatively small fire, but it brings travel in and out of a major hub to a standstill and has knock-on effects that go right around the world. It only takes one domino for the rest to fall, and goes to show just how delicate the balance is when it comes to our interconnected world.
The Balance. Journalism without agenda.
3 months. That is all we've had in 2025. All of that happened in that time, plus everything that's happened in the United States. Tariffs, deportations, firings, closures, signal group chats, plans to acquire, and there are those air quotes again, acquire places like Greenland and Gaza. It is exhausting, but it is also important to remember that there's a whole big bad world out there and significant things are happening all over it. That's it for this week's Rebalance. Plenty for you to check out at thebalanced.website as well. Lots of YouTube shorts and videotutorials as well, which have been getting some good numbers. So thank you for watching those and for subscribing. You can, of course, always drop a comment anywhere in our YouTube channel, or you can email me directly. Kamal@thebalanced.website is the address. Hope you're doing well wherever you are. And you know, if the world feels a bit too crazy for you sometimes, go out and touch grass every now and then. It's good for you.
Rebalance is a production of the Balance.website and is brought to you by Acast. For more, visit shows.acast.com/rebalance.